excited. But it's time to get into the third quarter. It's time to talk about baseball. So before we get into just doing some overall baseball takes, I want to give you some division leaders and go over some stuff. So in the AL, we have the Rays leading the East, the White Sox leading the Central, like I said. Oakland is leading the West. Um, in the Eastern, in the National League, in the East, the Mets are leading. The Cubs lead the Central. So pardon my take, they're still, but it's a tight race. And the Giants are leading the West, with the Dodgers still very much in contention. So that's kind of the breakdowns um, of all the divisions. For me, the big question mark is where will the Dodgers go? Because they still look great, even though they don't lead their division. Connor, what's a question mark you're kind of watching this season?
My big question mark is I always think in baseball what's interesting is who fades, right? Who fades, who comes on hot. Um, Baseball is very much kind of like basketball in that there's kind of multiple seasons, right? You've got it's the great teams have it on all year long, but there's still definitely there's a playoff team out there that is outside of playoff contention right now, and there's probably a non-playoff team that's in playoff contention right now. So, um, I think that as much as I would love to be, I would love to see the White Sox in that World Series. I still think they're pretty young. I think that Tony La Russa, although a great manager, maybe from that management position, might not be the best manager in 2021. As from his kind of spat with his catcher for an unwritten verbal rule of baseball when he swung at a 3-0 pitch. Rutledge, you never swing at 3-0 pitches.
No
And
one's swinging a 3-0 pitch.
never swing at 3-0. And, but that's what he wanted to do. So um, it's been a lot of fun to see baseball sort of embrace its stars and kind of go away from some of those unwritten rules. But there's just a lot to take in there. But I'm just kind of interested as on the whole to see who's going to be fading, who's be making those late season pushes, and kind of going from there.
I'm
What are some of the big macro stuff you're looking for?
I'm really watching the NL West. So this is the standings of the NL West. It's you have the Giants for leading the division, the Dodgers are one game out, and the Padres are 4 games out from the lead in the division. And kudos to the Padres from being a franchise that was kind of forgotten. I love their new uniforms. I love their swag, and they added the yellow. But they got some right lineup. They got some good pieces, and they're trying to make it in there. So I'm watching that division overall. I will give a homer shout out to my Atlanta Braves, which are a little disappointing. They're not doing as well as I anticipated. I also want to see what big moves, who adds what pieces during free agent trades. Um, who gets that good closer, who maybe puts a hitter in their lineup. This season feels like you have a lot of teams that are right sort of on top of each other, and if they move the right piece off of one of these tanking teams, then they're gonna really turn the corner. Um, we were all over James Harden, and he ran down the lane like there was
Just
no
like
one there.
James Harden turned the corner on your defense.
Just like he completely video game James Harden is way better than real life James Harden. I said
That's
it and
true.
I said it and I meant it.
That's so true. I think Rutledge, you're talking about the NL West, and I think that the NL West is loaded from the NL perspective. With the Dodgers and the Giants and the Padres, aka the fathers at Petco Park. James Harden's hungry; he's getting cereal. Um, and the what I in terms of divisions that I'm definitely um, wanting to make sure that we're keeping an eye on. Right? I'm very surprised with how the AL East is shaping up. I think the AL East is still very, very strong at the top. The Orioles might not be the team that they used to be, but between the Rays, the Red Sox, and I can never count the Yankees out just because their payroll kind of, almost matches the GDP of some countries. Um, you can never count the Yankees out. So there's still a ton of good baseball left to be played.
I see that's where I'm very much onto this the Yankees are 9 games back from the Rays. They're 33 and 32. They have Giancarlo Stanton. They have Aaron Judge. Like they have this payroll. They have this money, but something has happened to where that franchise is not producing. They would be in the bottom of the division, except Baltimore's already 22 and 43. I'm a little frustrated with this Yankee team. I will go out there and say we have our friends Carmen and Gabe. They have their show Dude Thoughts. I did predict a Yankees Braves World Series as that just felt really good this year and was very plausible. And I I don't know. I don't have an answer and I wish I did. I'm sure there are excuses as to why, but besides the Rays being good, the Yankee and the Red Sox are good this year. The Yankees should be doing way better than what they are. So, shame on them.
Shame on the Yanks. And that's no, that's kind of my point though, right? Is you've got guys who've done it before, you've got a manager who's done it before, you've got very talented players. I kind of think talent ultimately figures it out. And the Yankees over time have always been really good at being able to add what they needed to do at the trade deadline. If the Yankees need to add a pitcher, they can definitely do that. They're the Yankees are always in win now mode.
So, off-topic question. Who knows if it'll happen? Do you think Fernando Tatis Jr. comes off the pot that the Yankees buy him off of their team and buy him off the Padres and put him on the Yankees? Do you ever see that happening?
He's got like what? He's like the $300 million man.
Yeah, he's
Tatis.
expensive, but as it goes,
You could say that.
if you think it the reason I bring this up is Giancarlo Stanton was not as great of a player in Miami. He was good. Don't get me wrong. Giancarlo Stanton is good. Um, but then of course the Yankees bought him up, and they do that. There's Teixeira in the Braves is another one that comes back up. So do you think he could be the next star in a city and then becomes a Yankee?
My understanding with Tatis is that he likes being in San Diego. There's some guys like Giancarlo Stanton, um, like Aaron Judge, that kind of are more sort of New York guys. Yeah, my understanding is Tatis really does like San Diego. So could the Yankees pull out enough money to you know make it to where Fernando Tatis Jr. could buy a whole block of houses in San Diego? Yeah, they could do that. Um, but ultimately, I think we'll see where things go. I mean, the big piece for sports in general that is kind of interesting is seeing how salary. And I know baseball doesn't have a salary cap, but they do have some mechanisms, right? But there's so many teams that can't spend money this year like they used to because they didn't have fans last year, and the amount of lost revenue due to COVID was substantial.
Yeah, baseball. It's interesting how it's so much different than other sports with its salary. But I'm excited for us to deep dive into this MLB season for all of our listeners out there and our podcast people. Thank you for coming out. Tuesday night, Twitch, 8 o'clock. Thank you to our live viewers. For everyone else, follow us, subscribe us. Um, we're going to break down a lot of baseball this summer, Connor. I'm excited.
Are we gonna start doing team of the week? Do you want to start doing team of the week?
We should start doing Team of the Week. That sounds good.
Should we start making polls on Facebook about team of the week?
We should poll which Team of the Week should be our Team of the Week for the Team of the Week. That's not a 5-second violation. I was talking about Team of the Week.
Team of the week.